I'm sorry that I'm the only one in this room that doesn't speak Italian, but I was following the sessions on video formazione per insegnanti, and I managed to understand, I think, the key points. So if your English is a little bit better than my Italian, I think we'll be okay. I represent the company called Iris Connect. It's a small startup company that was created as a result of a project at the University of Sussex in the south of England back in 2007. The project was focused on how technology, especially video technology, can be used to enhance teacher professional development, especially in the early stages of their careers. And more specifically, it was focused on how student teachers can have access to real classrooms and discuss real situations in their professional development. So what I will do in the next few minutes is to present you the why, what, and how of what we do in using video for professional development. And the main reason why we do what we do, probably we share with most of you here, and that is that out of all the factors that influence the outcome for students, the quality of the teacher is the most important one. These are factors that are controllable and that are within the school environment. This is another example. There is a lot of research, obviously, I'm sure you're aware of, that points out to that, and how much the quality of the teacher influences the actual achievement of the students. This is why the role of the initial teacher education is really, the challenge is to create professionals that are adaptive experts. So the initial teacher education is beginning of a process so that they can continue to develop and professionalize the profession and be professionals throughout their careers. However, there is a lot of research that also points out to the fact that a lot of traditional professional development opportunities are not very effective in terms of actual transfer into practice. This is just a snapshot survey by Teacher Development Agency in the UK that came up with this result that only 1% of those learning experiences surveyed actually were transforming classroom practice. And there are obviously a lot of situations. I think we've all been to workshops, to seminars, to courses where we are inspired, we hear some good information, but actually how much of it do we actually implement when we go back to the classroom? So what does effective professional development involve? This graph represents the summary of the work by two researchers from the United States, Joyce and Showers. I'm not sure whether you're aware of their work, but it's in effect synthesis of all the research that has been available in the last several decades about what does effective professional development for teachers involve. And it demonstrates these 4 learning experiences that are necessary for actual change to be implemented into practice. Access to theory or information, demonstration or modeling of what that actually looks like in practice, opportunity to practice and receive feedback, and peer coaching and collegial support. All of those elements are necessary, but in isolation they're not enough. So the graph shows that very, very little of the theory will be actually implemented into practice by very small percent of participants. When that is complemented with demonstration or modeling of what it looks like, the knowledge increases, the actual skill increases, but still the implementation into practice is small. And only when those 4 elements are present together do we see real impact into practice. So logically, in this last peer coaching and collegial support session, we would think about observations, classroom observations. They play a very important role in there, because effective teacher professional development really needs to be job embedded, needs to be ongoing, collaborative and personalized. And the reason why the theory doesn't work in practice is because a lot of those courses are actually focused on mainly transmission of knowledge rather than coaching and implementation. So the lesson observation that involves modeling and feedback sessions and dialogue afterwards is obviously very effective. However, it does have its limitations. It can be obtrusive. Participants don't necessarily behave in the same way when there is an observer in the classroom, so it could be less authentic. It could be subjective, because the feedback session at the end really relies on the individual memory of the participants, and we know as human beings we are flawed, so our preconceptions can form our opinions about what actually happened. It could be more difficult to scale, because it would involve either colleagues, peers observing to give feedback, so that means arranging cover for their classes, or coaches that need to travel. It is based on just one-off moment, and again relying on the memory, and it could be summative. So this is where using video can actually play quite an important role. Using video can address some of those challenges in terms of having a joint memory, having video footage that can be reviewed, and we can observe certain things that may have missed the first time around. However, traditional use of video also has its own challenges. Some of it is due to the technology, depending on what it is, ease of use, quality, whether we're able to actually hear and see properly what it is that we have captured, storage, cost, scalability, security. It could be also time consuming, and there is the issue of trust. Where does that video go? Who can use it, and for what purpose? And this is where actually Iris Connect comes into place, because the platform that we have created on the basis of the research that I mentioned at the beginning addresses those challenges of the traditional live observation and the traditional use of video. So what Iris Connect incorporates is two elements: the actual secure platform, web-based platform, and application. The application enables each user to securely and easily capture the practice within their classroom, either on their own devices or on hardware that we provide. And the video file gets automatically uploaded into their individual user space on our platform. So from there, once they log in, and each individual user has their own username and password, they can access the videos that they've created. They also have access to a lot of theory that we have created together with educational specialists and partners. They can reflect on it for self-reflection, but also when they're prepared to share with peers or with coaches, they can use it for further analysis, receiving feedback, and for collaboration and creation of communities of practice. So the reason why we have managed to address those issues that I mentioned earlier are the actual principles on which we've based the design of the platform. So the key points that came out of the original research that inspired and is informed the creation of the platform are ease of use and the teacher being in control. And we have incorporated that in the design. So it's very intuitive. We have dealt with the speed and storage because it's quite sophisticated technology, even though it's easy to use. We have always put a lot of attention on the privacy and the security, so we are not only compliant with the regulations like GDPR, but we comply with the best practice, not just the minimum in the industry. And in terms of trust, the fact that each individual user has complete control of all the data that they create does give them that confidence to be able to do it, but also the opportunity to collaborate and to create communities of practice actually fosters that culture of collaboration and support. So I'm not going to give you a full demonstration of the platform, but I thought it would be good to play just a very short video to briefly show you what it looks like.
Our professional learning platform goes beyond simple video recording, giving you access to everything research shows is needed to improve teaching and learning. Simply log into your own private account to access theory and research. See teaching techniques and strategies in action. Reflect and analyse your practice. Give and receive coaching and feedback. Share securely with your peers, wherever they are, and contribute what you've learned back into the community at the click of a button. Iris Connect is your secure space to discover, develop, and share.
So what the platform enables is actually those 4 elements that I mentioned from the Joyce and Showers research. Access to theory, reflection and analysis, both self-reflection and with peer, coaching and mentoring, and that includes live remote coaching. So we have the technology that enables live in-ear coaching. So we have projects where educational specialists are sitting in one part of the world, let's say the UK, and they're coaching in live session teachers in the United States, and that can be very powerful. And also creating networks and teacher learning communities. And it's also very useful for research because we have embedded tools that enable really easy capture of data and analysis, like time-stamped comments and all various sorts of data that is completely tailored. So in essence, the platform really enables the building of professional efficacy, so that the teachers collaborate and they have a real sense and confidence that what they do can make a real impact on the learning of the students. We have worked with probably about 80,000 teachers over the last 10 years in more than 20 countries. And we have learned very early on that the challenge in implementing that way of working is not so much in the use of technology. It's the actual cultural challenge and the system challenge that really needs addressing. Because what we have found is, because of the design of the technology, with good support, everybody masters that pretty easily. It really is quite easy to use. What is more difficult to change is the culture. Because what we are asking here, teachers, is to be able to share their practice with someone, to receive feedback and give feedback. And they can feel very vulnerable because in a lot of countries, teaching profession can be quite isolated. And this is why we really support the leaders. It does take time, it does take recognition of the benefits for it. And once that is in place, the results can be really transformative. So we have some independent research made into the impact of this type of coaching, and also a lot of anecdotal evidence from case studies that is very, very positive. But these conditions have to be in place. The system change, what we mean by that is we refer to the fact that teachers have to be allowed the time to do that, to be able to focus on reviewing their videos and giving and receiving feedback. There has to be a process in place because observation and reflection, as you probably know very well, is a skill in itself. So it's not just as easy as making the video and asking someone to reflect on it. So when all of these things are in place, the results can be really, really encouraging. And what our vision is to really support professional learning ecosystems. And we have seen that from practice already, connecting the different players in the education, from initial teacher education to the schools, to the policymakers, and creating consistent approach and sharing of knowledge and objectives. We, having worked with so many different schools in different countries, believe that there is excellence in every school, in every teacher, in every learner. And it is our objective to work with all the other stakeholders to help them unleash that excellence for better outcomes of the students and for a better future for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Vesna, for your presentation. If there is any question or any answer, maybe.
If you can ask in Italian.
You want to ask in Italian?
In English?
Please.
Okay, I have a twofold question. First one, the first part is related to the last word you were saying. What have you, as a company and as a person, of course, you learned about, in longitudinal terms as well, about trust building, about winning newcomers this way to share their content, their lessons with unknown experts or coaches or peers. What have you learned that works when approach your products? How this trust develops and builds up in time? And the second one is a technical one. How do you record videos? How do you advise teachers to record the country videos?
Thank you for your questions. Regarding the first one, the trust, we have learned that it takes small steps. And it depends on the culture, on local culture of the school. It's not necessarily based on the national mentality. What really helps is to select the pathfinders. So if you think about the adoption curve, we as individuals all have different levels of openness to accept new things. And in every community, there are certain people that are more open than others. So typically how we would approach that in a school with our consultants is to select those who are happy to try. And the communication is key because they can delete whatever they've recorded. And we always advise to give them time to get used to it, because as humans, I think there are only a few of us maybe that are completely okay with filming themselves and seeing yourself on video and listening to your own voice. But once that first hurdle is gone, once that first step is made, we find that very quickly they actually see the benefit and they see beyond how I look on video, how I sound on video. And they start with small steps. Self-reflection is usually the first step, and then working with people that you trust within your own community before you're able to share outside of that. And those small steps that actually cumulatively produce results at the end are the key. Regarding the second technical question, we provide hardware only to really remove some of the obstacles of the technology, because we are not a technology company. We just use technology for the purpose of providing better professional development. But typically what we provide is 2 iPads and 2 iPods that are able to capture both the teacher actions and the students' reactions. So the application is the clever bit here, because it synchronizes the audio from the 2 iPods and the video from the 2 iPads, and they can be seen side by side. So it's pretty simple for anyone really to just position them in the room so that they can capture what they need to capture, and we have made sure that the quality is good enough to be able to review it, and we have just modified the application so that the resolution of the video is good enough to see what goes on, obviously, and to have pleasant experience, but small enough not to be too demanding on the bandwidth.
More questions? I have a question. Have you ever worked with universities in videos?
We do work with quite a lot of universities. Interestingly, most of them are outside of the UK. Okay. And actually, the reason why I'm here today is because of our collaboration with University of Perugia, with our colleague Floriana there. We are part of an Erasmus Plus project that brings together higher education institutions and industry partners to co-create modules for initial teacher education. So I've just mentioned that if you're interested in more information about that, very happy to provide you with, because we welcome associate partners to that.